Hotties, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you are not getting the visual feast that is what I'm dressed up like right now. I've got my titties out. My hair looks banging. I have bright blue eyeshadow on. Well, maybe not bright blue. I've oversold it. It's like baby blue. Long pink nails, animal print. I look spectacular. I personally would actually wear this every day, but I feel like Turak cannot cope with this level of incredible on a daily basis. So I've actually dressed up. I am Enchantress Peta, and I'm going to go as far as saying I am hosting Halloween, or I am essentially the talent of Halloween. I feel that my involvement, I didn't think that I was going to be involved as I was. And I am the theme of Halloween, mystical tarot with Enchantress Peta. So we are going to have a great night. And I thought, you know what? Let's not waste the sexy hair, the sexy makeup, and the sexy fit. Let's come on and record an incredible podcast. It's such a weird time because I feel like that everyone kind of falls into a bit of a different category at the moment. We've got people that are like, finish the year strong. I'm going to like make it work until, December 31st. Then we have some people that are like, absolutely fuck it. What a year. Give me a margarita. Give me a cheese board. I am clocking off. But I think that we can be so focused on what is happening now and the energy of this year that we can forget about the new year that is almost here, this incredible business year. And I think, in Australia, we obviously work with the financial year. So our business year technically starts on July 1st, but I really love the energy of a new year. I don't know if I'm ever going to grow out of that. It's so funny because I tell my business friends and like, it's not the start of the year. It's not the start of the business year. And I'm like, I get that, but I love the energy of like January 1st. And you know what I even love more than the energy of January 1st? I love the energy of a good January 1st when you've done the fucking prep work to just like sail into it. I think that it is a trap to kind of wait until that we are in the new year to organize the new year. And I've seen this before, where, especially if people have kids and it's school holidays and we wait and we wait and we wait. And then before we know it, we're halfway through February being like, where has the whole year gone? And you think about it, if that is kind of how you're approaching your business now and you're out like Jan and Feb and you start like, winding down from November, you're essentially having a 4-month holiday every single year without you realizing it. And there is nothing wrong with a 4-month holiday if you actually treat it like a holiday and you enjoy it. But I know that most people don't do that. Most people stress and it's in the back of your head and you're so anxious and you're like, I'm so anxious. I'm going to have to start this later. It's not today. I'll do it next week. And instead of actually enjoying the time off and doing whatever the fuck you want with it, you end up stressed. So we're not going to do that. Okay. Even if that's not you, now is like the perfect time to create a sensational plan and to vision this beautiful future and of course have a plan to make it happen. I feel like the themes, so much of the podcast episodes that I've been sharing recently have been around like identity, changing your identity, visioning what that is. And, if you go back a little bit further in time, we had a lot more, I don't want to say structure, but it was a real focus on strategy. And what I want to do today is kind of blend both of those together and talk about what we need to do and how we need to do it. Now, before I go any further, if you haven't already, I have actually created an incredible diagnostic tool. It is called Hot Business. Actually, it's called How Hot Is Your Business? Hot Business Quiz. You know what? It's called something and it's got hot in it and it's got business in it. And what I did, I put my brain into this diagnostic tool where you can answer, I think it's like 20 questions, yes or no. And then what it will do, it will score you in 5 different categories in business. And then you can actually see where you need to focus and where your energy needs to be. You can go and do that. It gets emailed through, and then you have the opportunity to do a beautiful pre-recorded workshop where we actually fill in a sexy business plan together. So in that business plan, we're actually going to cover components of that today, and I think that you're going to love it. So if you can, try to do that within the next 2 weeks, because we don't want to leave this, because the worst thing that can happen is for you to feel like that you are starting January 1st of a new year with all this energetic fucking work and cleaning up to do. You don't want to do that. It's like leaving your house before you go on holiday and you haven't taken the trash out and you haven't made your bed and everything's really fucking messy, and you come home after this beautiful break to all this moldy shit in your house and a smell, and then you have to deal with that, and then all of a sudden you're stressed and you forgot about your holiday, and then you feel like you need another holiday. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is make our shit pristine. So when we come home from our break, we're like, oh my God, thank you to my past self for setting things up for future me. I love you. I'm obsessed with you. Thank you for making my life easier, better, sexier. So I wrote the notes for what we're actually going to cover yesterday. But last night I did something, and I am so grateful that I did this. I actually keep, this is going to sound really corny, I don't even care. I keep like this big archive box, and anything that I do that is significant, I actually put in this box. And I remember being young. Like when I mean young, I mean like maybe like 7. And I always knew that I was going to be famous. I just felt like I had famous bones, whatever it was. I was like, I'm going to be well known. I'm going to be famous. And from probably like around age like 12 up, I started saving things because I'm like, I love my parents. I'm not going to save stuff. My mom is like ruthless. She loves cleaning. She just loves getting rid of shit. And over the course of like my entrepreneurial timeline, I have kept everything in this box, even my Avon lady badge from when I did that when I was 14. So I've kept everything in this box. And then last night, for whatever reason, I felt really inspired to just go through this box and have a look at things and really see the journey that I have gone on from, when I started, when was this? Like my business back in 2009, really 2008, to where I am today, and everything that I've kept, and random little bits of paper like the newsletter for my Pilates studio and my old like magazine tear sheets and stuff that I do with fitness magazines. Like everything is in this box. And I just went through and I read it, and I sometimes fall into the trap of feeling like that I get annoyed. And I think that going back and looking through this gave me a newfound appreciation for everything that I've kind of done to get to this point, and how I've grown as a person, how I've grown as an entrepreneur, what I've done in my business. And when I saw that, it just made me again have this sense of gratitude. And you are no different. You have done so much in business, in life, to get to this point. And even if you feel like that you have had a year where it has been roadblock after roadblock or shit after shit, and you started this year with incredible intentions, I want you to actually go back in whatever capacity and just revisit your past self and just fucking thank them for everything that they have done. Because where you are today, and with the knowledge that you have and even the desire that you have, that's your past self. Even if whatever you are working towards has not materialized, the fact that you have that desire and that you know that is available to you and that you are working towards that, go back and you thank that bitch. Because you think about it, we have some people that are just going through life fucking mediocre, and they have no desire. They have no drives. They are just happy to do what they're doing and do like it's you look at their life and you're like, holy shit, I wish that I could be just happy doing that. But you know that that's not you, because you have this potential, you have all of this stuff within you, and you are currently working towards that, right? So even if it is not materialized, thank your fucking past self that they did the work to get you here, that is even a possibility for you in the future. Because there is going to be a version of you in the future that is going to look to you right now and everything that's happening, and they are going to be like, I am so grateful for that bitch and everything that she did and how she did it and how she showed up and all of the work, despite it being really, really uncomfortable. Okay. There is definitely a future version of you that is thinking about you doing this right now. And I thought about that with myself last night. I thought, oh my gosh, there's a future version of me that has everything that I want. And she is thinking back to the time that I was in bed on October 30, crying her eyes out, going through all of this stuff from her past self and how she showed up and how after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, she kept doing all the things. Okay. So I want you to go and do that. Now, you may not have tear sheets. You may not have like physical printed out stuff, but you have so many archives of where you continually post content. You can go back through your Instagram stories. And this is an incredible activity if you feel as well like you sometimes just don't even have anything to say. You have so much to say. You've probably said a lot. And maybe the reason you don't have a lot to say is you got to actually go back and revisit that stuff. Okay. So this is where you get to go back through your stories archive. You get to go back through your Facebook, and we get to just revisit our past self. In doing that, you're going to show yourself gratitude, and you are going to look for content that still really feels like that this is, it's almost like activating something in you where you're like, oh, I love this. Oh, I could talk about this more. And I feel as entrepreneurs, as creators, it's really easy for us to get into this way of thinking where we feel like that we always need to do stuff fresh and that we always need to have new ideas. And it's really interesting that even when I sat down to record this podcast and when I was coming up with the idea yesterday, I was like, I feel like I've got nothing to say. And I think it's because, I put pressure on myself all the time of I need to come up with new concepts and new ideas, and not, hey, maybe we actually need to go back and revisit things that we've talked about before, because there's a reason that this is part of my teaching and this is what I do with every client, because it fucking works. So if it works, why aren't we going to go back and revisit that and bring that into a podcast episode today? So this is something where you could probably take a week doing or 2 weeks doing, or you're like, I'm going to spend 20 minutes every single day. And it can be something where you're just going back and you're just looking through and you're celebrating, right? That's a big one. You are celebrating and you are showing gratitude, because we tend to forget all of the things that we've done. We usually remember the big standout things, but we forget the little things that we do in the path to get us to the big things, right? So this could be something where you sent your first email, or you put your first sales call to action, and that is responsible for you making like your first $10,000 or something on email, whatever it is. So go back and celebrate that. But when you're doing that, look for content and look for things that stick out. And for some of you, I hear all the time from people and they're like, I wish that I could come up with a course like Give Good Email. I wish that I could come up with an idea that is successful that people love. And you know how Give Good Email came out? Give Good Email came out because I had a membership and I posted some stuff in there about email marketing. And I then was like, well, what's our next challenge going to be? Oh, okay, cool. Well, people seem to like the email and this feels easy. And that started everything. And that was, I think it was like March 2020. And that was responsible for where I ended up today. And that came from me just putting a little bit of content in a membership, or for me just kind of nibbling on something, being like, I feel that I can talk about this. I didn't think at the time that I had a course that is going to make me millions and millions and millions of dollars. It was just like, this feels like a good idea. I'm going to head in that direction. So when you're doing this, I don't want you to look at things like, that's $1 million idea. That's $1 million idea. It's kind of like when you're, okay, have you ever made a vision board and you're going through magazines and you're not ripping things out of the magazine thinking this picture is going to look really good in quadrant left, and then, oh, this is going to go really nice next to that. You don't do that. What you do is you focus on what is actually standing out to you and you lean in that direction, and then you go from there and you just rip that out and you worry about it later. So that's really what we're doing. It's like we're doing some business scrapbooking and we're looking for really good stuff that we've put out that we could post about again, or maybe repurpose, or maybe talk about more. And it's really interesting. I am reading, reading is a very loose term because I'm actually listening to the audiobook. I've got it on Audible, the audiobook version of Calling in the One. And it's by, who's it by? Catherine Woodward Thomas. And it's so interesting. I don't know if you do this, but I will find something and then I go in these like little stalker spirals where I have to know everything and I have to watch everything. And this all started from a conversation with one of my beautiful friends, Eve. We chat and she's like, you need to listen to this amazing YouTube video. And it was by this woman. So I listened to it and I was like, oh, that was amazing. And then I listened to another one. And then I listened to another one. And then I was like, I'm just going to get her book. And it's so interesting that in the 3 YouTube videos that I watched and now the book, she uses the exact same stories and anecdotes in every single one. And the whole time I'm listening to this, I'm like, I've heard this story, but did it turn me off? No, it didn't turn me off, because I'm like, I'm still getting something from it. like I'm hearing it and it's like it's almost like it's penetrating a layer deeper. Could you imagine how exhausting it would be if she had to come up with a new story or a new something every single time? There is a reason that the first time you listen to it, that it's powerful and it draws you in because it's a powerful story. And I always think that this is kind of like when you listen to songs or you read a good book. You never listen to a song you love and you're like, I'm never going to listen to that again. You put it on again and again and again and again, and you get something different from it. Your content is exactly the same. So you are going to go back and you are just going to find things that stand out. All right? Do you think you can do that for me? That is your task. So when you've done that and you've got your content, I want you to just have some kind of like ritual that you are going to start to do. And this really is going to depend when you clock off, that you are just going to kind of wrap up the new year. Now, if you want help with this, I do have an incredible $35 offering, Who Are You Becoming? Where I think it does actually. We've got some sexy little order prompts in there. Isn't it funny? Let me actually just check this because I don't want to sell you something. And then you come to me and you're like, where are these order prompts? Who are you becoming? Okay. Yes, it's in there. So it is a 4-step process where we audit, we expand the vision, we create some big goals, then we do a monthly breakdown, and there are some other things in there as well. It's $35. There's videos, worksheets. It's in Notion. You'll love it. Just buy it. And, this is a really good way to kind of like close the year and celebrate. And you can start that whenever. It's something that I kind of start to do from now. I actually don't have any clients at the moment. I've got no work. It is so lush. I actually have the last 3 months of the year off. And I use off loosely because I'm still definitely working. But it got to a point where all my clients that I had were going through very significant life changes and everyone's kind of finished up or paused. And I'm like, well, I think I'm just going to take 3 months off. I'll focus on my business, focus on my podcast, give good email launch happening, and it's just so lush. So I'm kind of starting the wind down now. I like it to be gentle and slow because if you're anything like me, I can't just sit down and do things in like a burst and be like, bam, we're done. There's stuff that I forget and there's stuff that comes up for me. And then I tend to be someone that I need to go away and kind of process things and think about stuff like a little bit more instead of just journaling for an hour and then closing the book, being like, right, we're done. So I'm starting mine from now. You can start yours from whenever you like. Okay. Then when you've done that, the most important thing that you can do is you have to have a North Star of a goal of what you're actually working towards next year. And if you tell me, I don't want to do that, I don't want a goal, there is probably a reason that you don't want a goal because there is a part of you that worries about failure and has a fear of failure and worries that if you declare something to yourself or publicly that you are worried that you're not going to be able to do it, all right? I want you to just create a goal and forget about time. One of my favorite people who does this is Brooke Castillo, the Life Coach School podcast. I love her. She has a goal to create $100 million a year as a life coach. And I obviously don't know her behind the scenes process in her business, but she would, of course, have this ambitious goal in her mind the whole time and what this looks like. And this is something that I want you to do. And if you don't hit it, that's okay, because sometimes, especially when we are relying on people to make decisions for our dream to happen. So if we're selling something and we want to make, like our goal is making money, we rely on people paying us, right? So there's two people that kind of have to come to the party here. But you can still make this and just be like, you know what, I'm heading in the direction and it's taking a little bit longer. But I think as well that when you actually create a goal and we put like a timeline on it, oh my gosh, I can't even speak, a timeline on it, what happens is, especially if it's ambitious, you will start to do things differently to how you've actually done them before. And what I mean by that is if I were to tell you, go out and make $10,000 and take as long as you want, you're probably going to be doing exactly what you were doing up until that point, right? And what I want you to think about is where you are today in the business that you have is a result of past you and past actions. So if you keep doing what you've done in the past, this is how you end up with the same shit continually. But when we actually think about a big visionary goal, what we can then do from here is, especially if we add this like time frame, you are going to have to do different things. So if I said to you, go and make $10,000 by this afternoon, you're going to have to do things very differently to what you've done up until that point. And this is just going to get your brain in like a little bit of a different gear. Like the cogs are going to be turning a little bit differently because you are going to be looking for a different way of doing it, right? So that is why I love to create a big, ambitious goal, because you are going to have to trim the fat on stuff that's happening in your business and how you've been doing things. And I am a huge fan of having a revenue goal. You know, you can have a profit goal, but revenue for me, everyone's like revenue's vanity, profit sanity. Revenue is your sales capacity. You cannot have profit if you don't have revenue. And revenue shows you your capacity to sell. And that is important because you can't have anything else in business unless you sell. So for me, I am playing with the idea, and I have been playing with this idea. Transparently, I'm going to tell you, this year and last year, I have wanted to have a $500,000 business year. Now, am I there? No. But what is really interesting with this in my mind about like my $500,000 business year is I have actually refined how I've worked continually. You know, Give Good Email has had some price increases. I have had strategic price increases. I have changed my focus on promoting smaller offers to, you know, creating something like Business Bang, which is $1,500 a month. So even though we're not there, I actually can look at the bones of my business and how what I've done this year compared to last year and the year before, it is so much better. And I can see now how I'm doing business now, the 500K is so much more likely to happen because of the changes I've made. Could it have happened with what I was doing in 2022? 100%. But I probably would have been working a lot, and I feel that I could have been burnt out, or there's things where at the time I'm like, I don't know if you would have been happy with that. You would have made the money, but at what cost? So if this is something where you feel like that you are continually striving towards a goal and it just hasn't happened yet, this is where you also can have that little process of you looking at what you're doing now, what you were doing, and then asking yourself, well, how does it actually look better? Okay. And there is a chance that even if you are working towards something and it hasn't happened yet, that your process has cleaned up so it can happen. All right. So have some gratitude there. Another thing that you also can do is to look at your boundaries and your standards. Now, I feel like our boundaries and standards seem to be like a main character on this podcast because it's so important, because your standards give you the life. It is the life that you have now. It is your rule book on how you live. I've got 2 podcast episodes on this. Like 27 and 28, new standards for business. Even if you have listened, go back and have another listen, because the thing is, it's always going to hit so differently, and it's going to hit differently because you have grown as a person. I bet that you could listen to those podcast episodes every quarter and you are going to get something very, very different from them. And I will say too, that in that little $35 offer that I mentioned, there is actually a boundaries and standards template. So I do take you through a little process, but go and listen to those podcast episodes because you are going to love them. So come up with a goal and just fucking pull something out of your ass. Pull something out of your ass, pull something out of the air, just fucking decide. And I do not want you to be realistic. The worst thing that you can go into a new year with is being realistic. Because when we are being realistic, we are thinking about what we've done in the past and we're actually designing our future based on that. Let's just like not be realistic. And you know, this can be something where I was even thinking about, do we still flog again this same fucking 500K, or do I just be like, let's just go straight to $1 million? Like, why not? What's the worst that happens? I do it or I don't do it. Am I fine either way? 100%. Is anyone going to die? No. Will I be disappointed? Well, you know what? If I aim for $1 million and I make 500 grand along the way, I'm going to be happy because that's the goal that I wanted. So don't be afraid to shake it up, especially if you feel like stuff is getting a little bit stale. Create that new goal, create that energy, but you have to know what you're working towards. When you have that, this is where everything else is influenced from that. So I do have a system for business growth, which stands for goals. And it's goals, offerings, lead generation and traffic, and then sales. And if your business is not where you want it to be, one part of that is actually letting you down. So it could be that you don't have great offerings, or you don't believe in them, or they're actually not profitable. You have a lot of clients, you're working a lot, but you have no profit. It could be that you don't have enough lead generation and traffic, or that you don't have a sales strategy, or even at goals that your North Star is off and that you're kind of building in a direction where you're not happy with. And then everything else is kind of going to be sabotaged in the process. That little hot business thing that I told you about, we cover that, and you will learn this framework with a free template. Okay. So make sure that you do that. You are going to be obsessed with it. Watch the masterclass too. All right. Firstly, you need to look at what you're selling, and you need to look at your suite of offerings or what you're selling and ask yourself, if someone came into my business, my world right now, would they be overwhelmed, or would they know exactly what is happening? And why I say that is, I have gone to people's websites before and I am so confused, and I feel like that I need to spend 30 minutes just reading and deciphering anything. You know, if someone was to go to your website and they had 30 seconds, would they know how to pay you money? And would you be happy with the option that they pick? And if you are positioning something that is really, really cheap, I'm going to say that you're probably not going to be happy with that. There's a reason that that $35 offering does not live on my website. I mention it on the podcast. I mention it in email. But do I want to be known for a $35 offering? No, that feels really off brand for me. When people come into my world, or when they look at my stuff, I want them to know that when you work with me, you're going to have to pay a couple grand. That's it. Couple grand. We don't do cheap. And you'll look at my website, there's nothing cheap on there. And then you come into my world and I'm like, actually, here's a taste. And you think about it, right? I've vetted these people. If they are getting into my email list, if they're following me, if they're looking at my stuff, they know that I'm going to charge good money to work with. So this is why my lower cost stuff just sells really easily, because I have positioned myself that when you work with me, you are going to spend a lot of money. And if you are not fine with that, we're probably not a fit. So what I want you to do is look and audit your offerings and ask yourself, does something need to be archived? Is this an old version of me? Is this something that I want to carry with moving forward? Knowing where I'm going and where I want to end up, does this feel on brand? Now, if it doesn't, great, we can archive it. You can have a final little sale. Or you may be like, no, it doesn't. I really love this. This is where you can be really strategic. You can bring it out to your email list. You can put it on stories. It doesn't need to just die, but it's something where you're determining, from where I'm going and where I am right now, I think that I need to just kind of like get rid of this, okay? Because it's not really in line with where I'm actually going in the future. Now, for those of us that have really quite ambitious goals, what we're going to need to look at when we think of our offers is we have to think of scalability and growth. And as you grow in business and you grow as an entrepreneur, how you make your first dollar and then how you make a dollar of $1 million is going to look very different, because there is a chance that when you start, you are trading labor for money. And then as you want to create something bigger, you need to actually think strategic with your time and how this looks. So for example, if I were to sell $1 million worth of services, that's a lot of day rates and that's a lot of clients. And then with that brings some roadblocks. If someone is sick or something happens, it is easy for me to focus on something, say like Give Good Email, that I can have 100 people join in one day and I'm not overwhelmed. And that, 100 people joining in a day would be amazing. But this is something that if you do have this ambitious business goal, you need to have offerings that support that. I believe that everyone needs to have some kind of passive offering that if, you get sick or something happens or you want to go overseas for 3 months, that you can kind of still do work and you're not having to worry about the delivery. That is why I created Give Good Email. You could have something like that. I also love a scalable program, which is why I've created Business Bang. This is very much obviously what I like to do and design with my strengths, but I've also done this very, very strategically because I know where I'm going and I know the offers that I started with in my business, they need to be like looked at. And, I know the offers that I started with in my business, they're not going to serve me with where I want to be. So I have just changed the format of how those things look. So this is where you can do a nice little audit and a sweep on everything in your business that's happening with your offers and with what you're selling. Test the profitability and the viability. And if you need help with this, join Business Bang. This is something that I do with all my clients where we go over their business with a fine-tooth comb. We make it better, we ensure they get paid, and we develop them as an entrepreneur. How's that for a sales pitch? So when you've done that, this is when we look at our traffic and our lead generation. So this is described as the eyeballs on your stuff and how people find you. I think for a lot of people, Instagram, they use Instagram, but we want to look at where we're showing up and the energy that we're putting out and be like, is the juice worth the squeeze? So you can take stock of all of the places in your business that you're showing up and ask yourself and get really honest, is there ROI? If you want to go next level, and I think that some of you are not going to like this, you actually can look at your screen time and you can be like, how many hours am I spending a week? And then like look at a month and then quantify that out to a year. How many hours am I spending, and is this actually getting me a return in my business? And if it's not, this is where you need to be honest with yourself of, it's fine if I do that, but this is now verging into hobby territory. So I cannot be on there saying I'm working when you're really not, okay? It would be like me on LinkedIn looking at all the sexy men's profiles. Is that working? I'm on LinkedIn, but it's not. It's like me coming into my office, having a chat with people and a coffee. I'm at work, but am I working? No, I'm not. So I say this because I see people a lot post on Threads. That's fine, but is it bringing you money in? And is it positioning your business in a way that you want to be positioned? If I were to go to Threads and look at what you post and how you post it, am I going to be more likely to work with you or less likely to work with you? And this is something that I used to do all the time. In my baby entrepreneur years, I would have like little micro whinges on Facebook about things. And I can look back being like, what? How the fuck did I think that was going to get me clients? Like I was using this like a diary. I needed to kind of like tell my journal or tell a friend or work through it myself and not kind of like publicly air my shit out thinking that this was going to somehow help my business. So that is requiring you to be honest with yourself and remember that you are a business and you are here to make money, and we need to show up in places where we are going to make money. So what does that look like for us? I never thought that I would go back on YouTube. But I kind of wanted to, but I looked at my channel and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm going to have to start again. And I felt like I was overcomplicating it. And I'm like, just put your stuff up on there. And if people will find you and they want to find you, they'll find you. And if people want to unsubscribe, they'll unsubscribe. And I looked at a graph of my video views and how now putting the podcast on YouTube, they have like 10 to 20 folded. They have like increased by 10 to 20 times what I got before by just putting it there. And, I'm going to have to do this a little bit longer to see, who is watching it. Is my business benefiting? What does that look like? But it's been really interesting for me. And I know I keep bringing up Threads. I tend to have clients that will promote me on Threads, which is amazing. Have I got success with Threads? Not really. Have I tried? Yes. Am I seeing that with YouTube? Yes. So knowing that is going to be a core part of my business plan moving forward for my traffic and my lead generation. I think that doing long form video is an art form. It is something that is a bit challenging. And I was so lucky that when I did this podcast, because doing long form video, doing coaching calls came so naturally to me, I was just like, well, let me just set this up like a coaching call. We'll just use Zoom. This feels easier. And now I have all of these incredible business video podcasts that you're loving. So I love that. Okay. So that's the next thing that you need to do. You need to look at your lead generation and your traffic. Ask yourself, is it working? Is it converting? Is it presenting me and my business in a way that I wish to be presented? Or if you know that you want to target a new segment with these new offers based on your goal, you may need to go into a different direction. So I have gone to LinkedIn. Do I think my clients are on LinkedIn? Right now, no. Future, yes. So right now I work with business owners primarily. I do have some bigger businesses that I work with and businesses that have like multiple staff. They are small compared to the fact that I work with marketing people and other people and business owners. Now, are they on LinkedIn? 100%. All of those people are on LinkedIn. But I feel LinkedIn has a bit of a different energy. And yes, I think it could work for me. And yes, I think it could be really advantageous in future. I put stuff on there, but I very much repurpose content. So I never put my good stuff on there. They get my good stuff eventually, but it's gone from somewhere else. So I've either posted it on Instagram or I've posted it on like wherever, and then I just repurpose that, chuck that up on LinkedIn, and I nurture it, but it's not something that's taking all my attention. It's not something like, say, my podcast, where this is hours per week of me thinking of ideas, recording, getting it up, editing. I do everything myself because you guys are with me. Like, I don't know how long this episode's going to be, maybe an hour. You're with me for a whole hour. We get to spend that time together. I'm going to nurture that relationship compared to someone randomly scrolling on LinkedIn, looking at something for 10 seconds, if that, liking it, and then never thinking about it again. This serves my business so well. So when you have the eyeballs, what do? My friends, the last category is one of my favorite. It is sales. How fun is sales? Sales comes before the service. Sales is the most important thing you do because you need to look at everything that we've covered, right? That all happens before someone becomes a client or a customer. We got a lot of work ahead of us. So this is the final step, and it is the most important. It is critical because you can be a fucking snack, but no one is going to want to taste you unless you position yourself to be tasted. That makes no sense, but let's just go with it. And what I mean by that is, people could be like, wow, this chick's email stuff looks amazing, but sometimes people won't ever send an email asking how they can work with you. You need to have a sales strategy, and you have to make this really, really easy for people to give you money. So you can have a look through the last, say, 12 or really, it was 10 months, and whenever you're listening to this, look at all of your sales across 2024. And I want you to look at how they've come in, look at the patterns, like look at, did we go like a couple of weeks where there was sales and there was nothing? Look at trends. If you can, look at where the sales have come from and get really clear on how this can then influence what it's going to look like for you in 2025. So one thing with sales, you need to make it, again, really easy for people to give you money. I love email. I love automations because it doesn't matter if someone across the other side of the world finds me in the middle of the night, they are going to get nurtured continually, and they're going to get nurtured perfectly every single time. So you want to make sure that you have a system that is set up that is continually selling for you. And this is the perfect time to take stock of, again, where we're going, what has worked, and ask yourself, can I automate this? Can I kind of automate some kind of sales process here? Knowing that I want to focus on this offer, knowing that I have this goal, can I create some kind of automation that is going to do the legwork for me so I can focus on driving the business in other areas, or I can focus on whatever, okay? So this is where you need to look at how you're selling, and we need to refine our sales strategy. There is a chance that you are creating a sales strategy because you could be like, I don't sell, but you're just going to refine. So what this is going to look like for me, I have to do Facebook ads. I feel like that I have some Facebook ads. I don't want to call it trauma, but I feel like I'm like, oh, I don't like them, but I'm going to have to do it. The reason I'm going to have to do these Facebook ads is because I have some epic freebies, like that hot business thing. I've got my email content planner. I have stuff that is proven that when people go through it, the metrics and the engagement are high, and the likelihood of them becoming a customer is very, very high. Now, with Facebook ads, I would, of course, look at that in the lead generation category. But why I like to lump them together is because for the sale to happen, they're going to have to be tied with a sales automation, okay? So I'm looking at both of those together. And this is going to be a priority for me next year. That being said, I'm starting that now because do I want to be learning Facebook ads in January? No, bitch. I want to get paid in January. I want the sales to come in January, so I need to do the groundwork for that now. And that's another thing that I want you to think about, right? That if you want something to happen next year, ask yourself how you can serve future you by doing the groundwork for all of this now. Everything that I've covered is pretty simple. And it's simple because you're already doing this or you're not doing it. So it's going to be easy for you to look at your business and be like, how can we do it or how can we make it better? Is it working? Cool. Keep doing, double down. Is it not working? Great. Why not? And doing this will serve you so well because no one does this. Everyone focuses on these tiny little changes, like let's fix our website or let's fix our font, not realizing that there are people out there who have the fucking ugliest websites or the most terrible branding that are making so much money because they're really focusing on like the business parts of business, all right? Hopefully, hotties, there were some little nuggets of gold in there for you to chew on and something for you that is going to stand out that you're like, yeah, that thing that I keep forgetting because I keep obsessing about my offers. Okay, cool. I'm going to go and do that. So make sure that you do hot business, do the quiz, then take the workshop. There is a lot of free stuff that you can access from this that is going to help you, okay? I am always here creating amazing content for you to serve you, and I want you to win. I want you to win so badly. If you have budget, if you have hot budget, join Business Bang. I will put the wait list below. It is going to be so good. We kick off like I would say mid-January. I need to actually organize the dates for that. That's something I've got to do. But probably like mid-January, maybe towards the end of January. And this is my business and entrepreneurial mentorship. You are good at what you do. I ensure that you get paid for that. And you will be mentored by me in how to actually build a business. I've got my CFO in there as well. She's incredible. Sharon, she's a babe. If you've got questions about Business Bang, reach out, find me on Instagram, slide into my DMs, and let's have a little bit of a chat. If you're like, how do I even start this conversation? How do I slide into someone's DMs? You can just write Business Bang with a wink face and I will take it from there, okay? You make the first move, I'll make you comfortable from there. Hot stuff, I've loved this. I've loved this so much. I love this. I love you. I love you more than how good I look today. How good I look today. The girls look amazing. Everything looks amazing. Hair looks incredible. Makeup looks incredible. I'm in the big sexy cult boardroom and people are walking past. They're looking in. They're like, what magic is happening in there? There is so much magic that's happening in this room. I love you more than that. I love you more than, oh my gosh, I had a quiche Lorraine from Laurent. So good. I had that yesterday. I haven't really eaten a lot today. What time is it? It's like 1:00 and all I've had is this like little high protein banana pudding. Hey, can you sponsor me? Wicked Sister, sponsor me. And I'm hungry. This was delicious, but it's obviously not enough. It's not enough. It's a sexy little snack. I'm a sexy little snack that needs a bigger meal. So I'm going to go and get quiche Lorraine. It's like $10. It comes with this little side salad. The salad is pretty piddly and it's got this like a honey mustard dressing or something. It's $10. I'm going to go get that, have a coffee, just chill, relax, and feel into myself before I have to transform myself into Enchantress Peta. So love you more than that. I love you more than my past self. I love you more than my past self for recognizing at age like fucking however old I was, like 10, that I was going to have a memoir one day. And that a couple years later, I started saving things to put in this book because I was like, well, I don't know if my parents are going to do that. And I don't know who's going to do that because they might know, like I haven't communicated where I want to go and what this looks like. I only know that. So because I only know that, I'm going to have to start and keep this. So I love you more than that little activity that I did. Obsessed. Hot stuff. What a fantastic episode. You are going to have an incredible business year in 2025. But you are only going to have an incredible business year if you go and you fucking get it. Don't just think that everything is going to come for you. Don't just think, well, if I'm so good, Sky Daddy's going to provide. Because maybe the universe wants you to make the first move and then it will follow. So if you truly believe in what you do, if you truly think that you are amazing and you are, show up and act like it. And everything else will fall into place. I know that it will. Use these last 2 months of the year to make some magic happen and to make it so much easier for future you. And you will be so, so, so proud, and you'll be grateful that you did this work. If I can support you and you want to work with me, oh my gosh, I'd love that. I'd love to go next level with you, but know that I have those wonderful little freebies for you to fondle. Love you.